86th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select.
That's So Dolphins Talk with John Baker and Trigga Trey Proctor.
We check your pulse if you're not fired up.
Dude, are we good?
Dude, we're the best team in the league.
If you don't have eye black at home, you better go get some eye black.
Oh my god, we're back.
Hello and welcome into another edition of That's So Dolphins Talk. Got myself, Johnny Bake Show, and the co-pilot, Trigga Trey Proctor. It is a glorious Week 12 win. Dolphins 34-13 against the Jets. It feels good, but if you're watching along on YouTube, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Hit us up on Twitter. Trey is at SadFinsFan. I am at _Podsky. And if you're listening to us on a podcast, make sure you still download, rate, review, subscribe. Helps the show grow. So now we got that out of the way. Went in. It's the ever elusive huge win, but a huge loss game. The turf monster in MetLife has taken another victim. Jalen Phillips out for the rest of the season with a torn Achilles. Does this mean he tries to make a comeback for the Super Bowl if he gets the Aaron Rodgers treatment?
I don't think he can. They already designated him out for the season, didn't they? I still don't think he could get back in time for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Anyways, worst case scenario happened. Made it through, and then the entire game without anything terrible happening outside of, possibly Tariq hurting his ankle again. But we got nipped. I think Holland is okay, but
yeah, Holland seemed fine. They interviewed him after the game. He seemed fine. I think using Jalen Phillips absolutely sucks. He was like starting to break out. It's a huge loss. I think the plus side of that is that Van Ginkel's gotten plenty of time as the defensive end position because Phillips was out for a game or two. I think it finally gives Ogba the chance to, do something with his money that we're paying him. And I think also, with the, emergence of Chubb and Wilkins is getting a pass rush. I think don't get me, I'm not by any means saying it's not a huge loss, but I think the other side of it is that it's not a Tua or Tyreek Hill loss, in my opinion, but it's still a huge loss to this team, especially with the way he was beginning to produce. But overall, I think it's good to go in and dominate a division opponent. Was never worried. You were still worried. I was never worried. The glaring issue has got to be Tua's, inability to really not turn the ball over and clutch, and not really clutch situations, just in general, it's not turn the ball over. It's another game where I believe we lost the turn or tied the turnover battle and still won, which is kind of wild to think about.
I hate that. I hate that stat.
I know.
Sucks. And at halftime, if we wouldn't have scored, if Holland didn't run back that Hail Mary, I was worried. And I was already like, this is the bullshit that I was talking about on the show. Like, this is, I don't understand Tua's, like, why he feels the need to force something that isn't there sometimes. Like, it's just like that pick that was on the DJ Reed had there at the end of the half, that was bad. Like, that was just straight up bad. And
Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, what, even the Eccles one was terrible. Like, the pick six was awful. Like,
Yeah, it's so bad.
Like, two lazy throws consecutively. It was just like, what are we doing? Like, it didn't.
He's the opposite of, like, obviously Josh Allen has the big arm and he gets arm ego because of his arm strength. I think Tua gets arm ego because of his accuracy. Like, I think, like, he literally thinks he can make any throw that requires or is in a tight window, which is absolutely won us a lot of games. It scored us a lot of points. Like, it's been overly successful. It's just we've got to figure out a way to harness that and partner that with his usually good decision making. But yeah, those two picks were awful. I can't even defend them. They were just very, very bad throws.
Yeah. The that's the immediate takeaways from the game. I don't really have anything else other than that. Like we literally handled business, went in and won convincingly, never felt outside of the pick six that like the game was ever in jeopardy. Um, but the Dolphins went in and won the first ever Black Friday game. That was pretty cool. But yeah, for um the good, the bad, the ugly, I think that the good obviously is that we're 8-3. Uh, I guess the really big thing is that the defense really stood up and didn't really. I mean, they literally had clamps on that whole game. Like it never felt like they were ever going to score. I mean, minus that one drive, um, but yeah, I mean, look, we got the ground game going a little bit. Mostert got going. Jeff Wilson got going. I don't understand why we're bringing in. I thought that Miles Gaskin was out on the field, number 37, and I was irate. Like I was thinking, like, why is he out there? And then it wasn't even Miles Gaskin. Number 37 is cursed. If you're a running back is wearing number 37, don't. No one is allowed to wear 37 anymore as a running back for this team. Just don't. And if you're
I
going
thought that
get
I
out,
thought that with 11 too. I thought that with 11 too because Mike Wallace, Devontae Parker, but Cedric Wilson makes big plays for us. So,
Ted Wilson has made big plays. The
but yeah, I think yeah, obviously the good for me is getting the run game going. It's good to see our offensive line in general be able to pass protect. Um, dare I say, Liam Eichenberg looked good. Sneak peek for stock up, stock down, but he looks pretty good at right guard. It might be his natural spot ski. So that's a little development. The talk about a story arc, man. If that guy somehow comes around and becomes an all-pro right guard next year, after, you know, what worries me is that he's going to play so well that we're going to talk ourselves into not signing Robert Hunt, who I think is a huge.
we have no choice but to sign Rob Hunt.
I agree. Rob Hunt, Austin Jackson both need signed. After that, we can figure the rest out. Connor Williams. Those three need signed. We cannot be replacing offensive linemen next year. We can figure out defensive linemen with Christian Will. But anyway, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
A couple weeks from now. But yeah, I think, the good has to be the defense. We have a top 10 defense in almost every category at this point. So that's great to see. The offensive line looked great. Like I said, Tyreek and Jalen both balled. Our playmakers made plays when we needed it to. Mostert is literally like number 2 in all rushing categories and leads the league in touchdowns. Like, it's good to be a Dolphins fan right now, and good to have Mostert in fantasy.
Yeah, I have Mostert and I had Tyreek in fantasy. It was good. It's a good fantasy week. I've had a great fantasy year. It's yeah, for me, I don't know if there's any other good things other than Bradley Chubb is living up to the hype, and I really don't think there's just so many like good things. I mean, there's really hardly any really bad things to really talk about other than the fact that, the bad for me is that we lost. The bad is that we lost Jalen Phillips. I don't think it gets any worse than that. But I think to add a brighter note to the bad is that Emmanuel Ogbah has played about 20% of the snaps for the year. And in those 20%, he's created 3.5 sacks and an interception. So in his limited role that he's had on the team, he's had production. Now I don't know if he's going up against ones or garbage time, like playing Broncos or whatever. Like I don't know. I don't have that stat, but when he's been in there, he has made. I don't think that losing Phillips is about as bad as. I mean, it's terrible, but I think that it's probably one of the reasons probably why Chris Greer didn't trade him at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be someone we were going to let go. I'm glad. At this point, I'm glad we didn't, just for depth purposes. I'd still like us to see and go out and look at Shaq Leonard, but I mean that's a whole different ball game, I guess. That puts Ginkle in a more traditional pass rush role. But again, I think in terms of my bad, obviously Tua's decision making on the 2 interceptions is a glaring bad for sure. And really the other bad for me is our high red zone efficiency, like you and I were kind of talking about. We're moving the ball up and down the field well. We just could not finish when we got into that red zone, that high red zone, which is weird because we have historically had a pretty good red zone offense. It's weird to see us not be able to execute on some of our stuff down there. Again, Tyreek dropped that ball. It should have been a touchdown on that fade. Hated the call, but it was an absolutely unbelievable throw that Tyreek dropped, which I think has to go into the bad. Tyreek making big catches. That was a criticism coming out of Kansas City, that when the moment was brightest, he sometimes shrunk in terms of catching the football. So that's something to keep an eye on. But that'd probably be the bad for me.
Yeah, it's a really short list of bad and ugly, but the ugly for me is the turnovers. The Tua cannot continue to turn the football over like that. He's had so many turnovers this year. Like he's had like 9 lost fumbles. Is he in double digits now in interceptions?
I think he's at 11.
Yeah, that's not like we gotta limit those now. And then the other ugly is that, your bad is my ugly is that another Tyreek drop. Even though it didn't really hurt us, it just would have been nice that he would like if it's in the midst, you got to catch it. No,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. On to my ugly. It has to be our inability to gain 1 or 2 yards when we need it. I think sometimes McDaniel gets too cute with some of his stuff, and then when you couple that with Tua trying to be overly aggressive on top of the cuteness, like it's a method for disaster. So I think towards the end of the game when we needed to run the football, we did. So I hope that kind of clicks to him, that in short yardage, like just run the football. Like Jeff Wilson, Mostert run the ball extremely hard. Go behind Connor Williams and whoever you have at guard, and just make it happen. Get us a yard.
yeah, no, I agree. And I'm glad that you mentioned Jeff Wilson because that literally puts us right into stock up. Jeff Wilson, stock up. Like Buddy's back in the lineup, making a difference, and he is the power running game that this team desperately needs. It feels like we don't have any sort of power running it. Like we need to get 1 to 2 yards. I don't think Mostert is the answer for that. And I don't think Ingold is the answer for that. It has to be like if we need to line up in the I formation, we got to run ISO or blast or whatever we got to run, and it's got to be 1 to 2 yards. I would hopefully hope that Jeff Wilson can get that. And it's good to see he got in there and he was making some plays happen yesterday or 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. 100%.
The other stock up for me, definitely Eichenberg, in the fact that like the offensive line held up pretty well. It looked shaky on that first play of the game there, but I think they settled in and everything went fine. And I stock up on Holland. Huge stock up, even though that he may or may not gotten hurt. I'm pretty sure he's fine, but huge.
He interviewed after the game. He wouldn't have interviewed after the game if he was hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, those are my 3 stock ups. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't have anybody else for stock up on those 3.
Stock up for me is really the whole offense as a whole. I think people forget how good this Jets defense is allegedly supposed to be, and we moved the ball at will and scored, 27 offensive points on them.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes to this offense being able to deliver in number one at away games.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless, in a tough environment, the Jets are the Jets, but it's still a high energy environment. Only game on TV, basically a prime time slot. Like, I mean, it felt good to see the offense be able to move the ball efficiently. Obviously, I said it to start the show, but stock up Liam Eichenberg, and really that offensive line as a whole. We have literally been cycling offensive linemen in and out, and they have delivered when needed. So it's good to see that we have some depth at the position. And we kind of were worried about the O-line going into this year, and it's really been a strong suit for us in most of our games. Like it hasn't, other than Connor Williams snaps early on, it hasn't felt like the offensive line has really cost us a game, right? So I think that's been a pleasure to see. I would say stock up Teron Armstead if he didn't get hurt again, but he was having a pretty good game, back to kind of his old self, but he did get hurt again with his quad. I think he's day to day. I don't think it's as serious as some had expected, but sucks to see him get hurt again. Hopefully Lamb can get healed up.
Yeah, I didn't even realize because apparently Lamb got hurt during pregame warmups and hurt his back. So that is the story on him. I don't know if he is also day to day, I believe too. So I mean, it's just the ever revolving door with Teron Armstead. It's 1 week he's healthy and he plays great, and then by the end of the game he's hurt again. And they said that it's not as bad as what Isaiah Wynn's quad injury was, not even remotely close, but that he's day to day and could miss time. I like that we have a couple extra days to get ready for Washington. So I think that'll help. But I don't think that Washington's defense is as bearing down as what the Jets defense was.
No, they traded their 2 best defensive linemen.
Right. So I would feel confident, putting Turon or letting Lamb get the start next week as long as he's all right. So, but yeah, the stock down. It's got to be Tua based off his decision making. I felt like, if you take away those 2 picks, like we score over 40 on them. So I don't know. I just feel that it's so unnecessary. It's a common theme. And I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like that it's an issue that we've had 3 games in a row now. We're shooting. This one didn't cost us a game where we shot ourselves in the foot, but we definitely have done it the last 3 games, and now it's starting to become a trend.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's really the only stock down I have from the game is that I think he's got to find a way to be a little value the football a little bit more than he does right now. He's just getting overly aggressive when it's not necessary. I think he just tries hero ball too much. And really not even hero ball, I should say. It's just like the 1 or 2 stupid throws he makes. He makes them every game. It does not mean that it's going to turn into an interception every game, but there's 1 or 2 stupid throws he makes that sometimes he gets away with and sometimes turns into interceptions. For the most part, it's not the end of the world. But when when they start turning into interceptions regularly, they start turning into pick sixes, they start hurting the team. That's when you have to look at it and say, okay, how can we allow him to continue to play freely, but without making these mistakes? And that's really the biggest stock down for us.
Yeah, it's hampering the whole team is this turnover thing. So I don't know if that I had heard in a video that people were blaming McDaniel for the turnovers, like him giving these play calls, but I don't believe that. So I don't think that it's a McDaniel issue. I don't think it's a play calling issue. I think that it's players wanting to play hero ball, and there's where the turnovers happen. Like we're scoreboard watching, or we're not focused on the little details, is what it feels like, and that's when it happens.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100% with you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Patriots just missed a kick to lose, so that's a win. Quality franchise.
Oh, they're so bad. Couple stats from the game. Tua, sir, is over 3,000 yards passing for consecutive years. He did not hit the 300 yards. I thought that was something that I really wanted to see out of this game. Was hopefully he hit over 300. Mostert and Wilson combined were over 100 yards each. And Waddle and both Hill were both over 100 yards. So Waddle led the way with 114 yards receiving, and Tyreek is still on pace, which is good. So if we want to, okay.
All good. Let's get 2K.
I guess the only issue that I have thinking about Tyreek is that his ankle always is an issue at some point in the season, and we've now hit that part of the season. His ankle last year, and the Niners, and that hampered him for a couple weeks. Now we're back here this year with the Jets. So I'm a little worried about that and worried about the hand. He said that he has a lot of balls with his body now instead of with the hands. So that's a little nerve wracking for me, a little worrisome too. So, but yeah, there has been a little bit of development with Derek Barnett. The team has been they're interested. I don't know if that means that they've contacted him or not, but I know that last week we mentioned on the show about Akeem Hicks and possibly adding him, and how he has been mentioned in the building by Lord Fangs. So, personally, I would rather sign Shaquille Leonard than sign Barnett and Hicks, but because I think Baker's walking in free agency, I think that Wilkins is walking in free agency, and I think that we loosely mentioned signing the lineman. To add to that, the Dolphins are about to sacrifice the biggest contract that they've ever signed ever. They're going to sign Tua to an enormous deal. It's going to be over $200 million.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sign a player to over $200 million unless you're going to protect your investment. So that's why I say I think that they are going to sign Williams and Hunt, and they're going to shore up the line, and it's going to come at a cost on the defense. So they're going to have to either find the depth in the draft, or maybe that's why they signed Sealer, because they knew that they were going to be able to sign Wilkins later. You're either going to have to find it in the draft, you're going to have to find guys on a vet min. So I think that adding somebody like a Hicks on a low vet would be possible, but I think that the Hicks and Barnett are only to fix the problem right now this year. They're not long-term solutions, but I think that Shaq Leonard is a possible, not long-term solution, but a middle-term solution where we could find somebody and develop somebody for the middle of the field, but we can fix a huge hole that Jerome Baker just does not fill.
Yeah. Although Necro Baker has been playing pretty well, so I don't want to just cut him out, but
I can see Jerome Baker not taking a hometown discount, and I can see him heading out of town.
I feel like he's going to be a Saint. He just feels like someone's going to go play for the Saints.
Wow, he really does feel like a future Saint. Wow. He really does. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they're going to make it, if we're being smart in the way that Greer is, like, all of those picks are Greer guys that are going to get. So I feel like Greer wants to protect not only his investments, but show like, hey, we're going to give these guys second contracts. So I feel like they cannot lose Connor Williams. I don't even care how much he costs. You got to sign him.
Yeah, you got to sign him. I agree 100%. I support it.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with Derek Barnett if they are going to sign him. I know they talked about him, but I don't know. We kind of already talked about how like we felt Ogba is the odd man out. So now he's the guy. So we need him.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
Gonna have to figure it out.
But yeah, that puts a bow on the Jets for now. In terms of the schedule, we got the Commanders next weekend, 1:00 on Sunday, and then we got the Titans, and then we got the Jets one more time. So if all is right with the world, we should be looking at 11-3 going into that Cowboys game. And I know that I said that we are destined for 11-6. So I don't know if we're going to drop all three of them, but we'll see how the rest of the league shakes out by then. Because I don't know. I feel like the Cowboys are doing the same thing that we're doing. Everyone wants to say that, good teams like the Dolphins and the Cowboys are just beating up on bad teams. Okay, well, we're going to figure out who's the better one on Christmas Eve. And I certainly hope that it's the Dolphins and they don't ruin my Christmas.
Yeah, they probably will ruin my Christmas, but yeah, there's no reason we're not 11-3 going into that game. No reason. I mean, I said it 2 weeks ago when you said we were 9-7 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I said, if we don't have 11 wins, I'm disappointed. So like we need to be 11-3. And here's the thing. If we win, or if we get to 11 wins and the Bills lose 2 of their next 3, we win the division.
Yes, pretty much the Jets have been eliminated with that loss yesterday. I don't think they can mathematically make it to the playoffs in any scenario. I could be wrong.
Which no one cares. I mean, they're poverty. They were never going to be anything anyway,
but we still know that Rodgers is trying to get back. So I think he's eyeing a return to come back to the team next week, I think is what they were saying. Like early December, he literally could be making his start on that December 17th game. So I don't know if that really fixes their offensive line issues, but
bring him over. I don't even care. Well, I would play the Jets with Rodgers. That offensive line is atrocious.
Yeah. So we got the Commanders next weekend. This is a battle for the top spot in passing in passing yards because Sam Howell leads in passing right now. I would hope. I mean, I don't see how. Feel like if everything goes according to plan, Tua should be back on top, and the Commanders still have yet to have their bye week. So I feel like this could be a way for if Tua, can cement that and be back firmly atop the league in passing yards. But but I just don't see. I mean, this Commanders team is bad.
So bad.
Their defense is not good. Their offense gets a little streaky every now and then, but I feel like we've got the tools and we can clamp down on them. So
Yeah, this should be a same like I said last week. It should be a 3-score win, and we need to
another 34-13 game. I would
Yep.
be elated if that's what we're at. So
Yep.
Sunday at 1:00. I don't know if that is a Fox. It's a Fox game. I hate Fox games.
I hate Fox games. They're so dingy.
So yeah, there's no Kevin Harlan effect this week. But then after that, we go to we are at home against Tennessee on Monday Night Football. So I am excited for that one too, because now all of a sudden Tennessee is not a great team. So
Yeah.
and who knows
11-3.
But currently, as we're recording right now, the Dolphins were atop atop of first place in the AFC. So, I mean, obviously, as the rest of the weekend shakes out here, they could just go right back to fourth. But hopefully, the Texans can pull out the win against the Jags. And but yeah, I don't know. We gotta hopefully we need the Eagles to beat the Bills too. The Eagles need to
be huge.
This is the
That'd be huge.
It's going to be the ever elusive game where the Bills are going to figure it all out. And they're going to score 100 points.
Yep.
Just booking it right now.
And everyone will say the Bills are better than the Dolphins again, and they're all the way back.
Yep. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up.
That's all I got, man.
It's a light week, but there's really, I don't know much more we can talk about. We're 8-3. There's probably the best season outside of last year that we've been watching football, Dolphins football, and there's not a lot of bad, not a lot of great to say. So
The Texans are about to kick a 56-yard field goal to tie it.
Right, all right. Sprinkle the juju. Wiggity.
Timeout, Jags.
But yeah, we got Hard Knocks Tuesday, so I actually am excited to see what they say leading up to Jets week and during the Jets game. I'm excited to see what they say about that, like in-house and all that. Javon Holland gets a cake this week as well.
Yes, he does.
So Jerome Baker. Ooh. Rome bake. That cake.
Never mind. It's a 58-yard field goal for the Texans to tie it.
Are they kicking it right now? Well,
they are lining up to kick it.
Live here on That's a Dolphins Talk.
A live reaction here.
Live to tape.
Alrighty. Lining up 58-yard in the red. Texans red. All red everything.
Those reds are sick.
I do enjoy those. This is a very long field goal from basically the eye of the Texan. From the right nostril of the Texan logo. He kicks it. It is dead nuts. Off the crossbar, no good. Hit the front crossbar, no good.
Didn't get enough dick in it.
Jags are 8-3.
Wow.
Fins up.